over taxi and bus fares is a puerile sideshow. How we get around this island and get from one place to another every day affects our economy, our pockets, and our sense of self. It's a big issue, transport, that, like squatting or illegal settlements, is not going away and not being tackled with any vigor and sense. Those issues, transport and squatting, are among the matters you will hear us discuss in the next half an hour. It's Easter, of course, Ramadan in some places, and other festivities. And they're of great significance to millions and billions of people around the world. We count ourselves among them. And look at the traditions, too, in this show. All that, and herbs, too, in this edition of Frankly Speaking, Jamaica podcast. Good day. Please subscribe to this channel. If you are live with us, feel free to send your comments. Your thoughts are welcome always. Desmond Richards, Winnie Anderson Brown, and Mary White are with us. They are our panelists today, and they will tell us quickly, briefly, this week. We start with Mary.
I'm up first. Wow. I love yours. This week, if you're a Jamaican, you're quite familiar with the term bush tea. And you don't want to miss this amazing story I'm going to tell you about this 70-odd-year-old man whose grandmother saved his life as a newborn using some Jamaican herbs. I don't want to herbs. We're going to say herbs for now until we come back.
When you say herbs, you might mean the other thing. I don't know what you mean, but
it's the other thing I mean. It's the other thing I mean. So
now to Desmond Richards.
Oh, yes. Well, I am talking this week about political promises and squatting. You know, the Jamaican people over the decades have been subject to a plethora of promises from politicians. And because most of those promises have been unfulfilled, this is one of the reasons I believe, and based on research, this is one of the reasons that has led to the reduction in the voting pattern. What I am saying, that the vast majority of Jamaican voters are not voting. And you can look at the results. In 2011, 53% of the registered voters voted. In 2011, 48. And in 2020, it was 38. So what has been happening?
We're going to come back to you to fill out all the holes and spread it all across the screen. So, but let's just now take Winnie, and Winnie just go straight into yours.
Okay, well, this week I am going to look at Easter traditions in Jamaica. But before I say anything, I must make this very clear. I understand that there are Jamaicans who do not support Easter. But we're talking of the majority of Jamaicans. Remember, we have the most churches per square mile. And there are two very important days in the church's calendar as far as Easter is concerned. And that's Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Good Friday, Crucifixion Day, and today is Resurrection Day or Easter Sunday. So there are some traditions that we have had over the years. Some of them, you wonder what they have to do with crucifixion. For example, when people talk about going to church, we understand that. But there's a tree. I don't know how many persons have heard of the physic nut tree, where when you cut it at 12, then the tree bleeds. What comes out looks like blood. I've never seen it, but I grew up hearing about that tree. I don't know the tree. There's also another tradition where people use an egg in water, and whatever shape, they burst the egg, they put the egg in water, and whatever shape the egg takes, It tells them what's going to happen. If it's an aeroplane, they know they're going to travel by plane. If it's a ship, they're going on a ship. If it's a couple, somebody is going to die. So some of those are the traditions. But the most important tradition is the tradition of going to church on Good Friday. And that day is usually a solemn day for most country folk. I don't know about town now. Most country folk, it's a solemn day. You're not outside playing in the yard and jumping around and playing all kinds of music. It feels almost like a Sunday, but even more solemn. Friday gone, so Friday morning, I could tell it was a different day because I woke up to gospel music. And going to church, a number of persons go to church. It is a day when we celebrate the crucifixion, because without the crucifixion on which the whole business of Christianity is based, there is no salvation, there's no redemption. So this is very important in the church's calendar. Today is a day when people rejoice. It's a day when a number of persons who haven't been to church in a long time go and sing, He arose, hallelujah, He arose. Yes, Christ is risen, and this is a day when people are happy to be in church, rejoicing because He arose from the grave. Not everybody believes that, but most people who go to church, most Christian people believe in this.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And the bun and cheese is very much part of the tradition, though.
Yes,
Winnie,
the
and-
food. The
I
eating
have
of the bun and cheese has nothing really to do with the crucifixion, but bun and cheese and fish at this time. Some people eat bun and fish, but that food is very important to a number of persons. Bun and cheese. If you don't have that in your house, then something is missing. Some people don't cook on Good Friday either. Yes.
All right, Mary, you have some words.
I have some feedback on Easter. I do not celebrate Easter because my church, Church of God International, you can check out their website. We actually did a beautiful message on the history of Easter and how it got started and how Christians came to adopt it as a religious practice. Easter was replaced Passover, that's the Lord's holy, not holiday instituted by the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob many years, which he gave to the Jewish people as part of the traditions to pass down to their children. During the time of Christ, when Christianity was becoming popular, and they wanted to have more converts, like how the politicians would give out curry goat and beer during election time, the Roman people decided that they would link the holy day, move away from the Jewish practice, and create this thing with their gods, their pagan gods, that would attract the people who were already in paganism and idol worshipping. And so they make it attractive, and a lot of people accepted it, and has brought it in part of this. How do you get 3 days and 3 nights as per the prophecy of Christ?
Mary,
Yes,
Mary, we're not going to be able to take a lot, right? But what you say to people who say,
I'd love to say
I will leave this for the nation to consider. If Christ believes that it's the prophecy of his identity is 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth, as it was with Jonah, you cannot get that from Good Friday to when he rose up at the end of the Sabbath. Just do
I want to say something.
When you have 10 seconds to respond.
I must say this. Now, we don't get into that argument. This argument is from time immemorial. The most important thing is that Jesus was crucified and he rose again. So the time that it just like the birth story, we don't get there. This is a debate for another time that I don't get into.
Another time and another place. Thank you, Willie. And we threw it in there, and our viewers and listeners will have their own say. Desmond, I won't allow you to touch it. Won't allow you to touch it. All right. So let me before we get back to Desmond, let me start with my commentary. Some creative and progressive thinking about transportation in Jamaica is really long overdue. And we should block the myopic vista when we hear public transport to believe that we mean a better version of what we have. What we have is a backward middle passage, road-based time montage of chaos. There's no vision there. Public transport, we know, can be clean, fast, and not humiliating or class confining. Most well-run cities have a public transport system. We must start with some truths too. In Jamaica, you will never get a good public transport system at $1 for a ride at the lower end, or $2. You cannot get a public transportation system on those ridiculous rates. And you cannot get decent public transport system based on the owners of public taxis and buses subsidizing the system as they have been asked for years in Jamaica to do. Now, it's counterproductive as we have it. It undermines productivity as we have it, frankly speaking. Now we're providing more roads, widening a few in Kingston, or even building more bypass roads in Montego Bay. These things are not going to help us with a proper public transport system, or a public system in which a public transport system is part of. These are tantamount to digging ourselves into a hole. The transport system in Jamaica leaves the majority of population centers going nowhere fast. That's because before the roads are expanded, it becomes clear that there are too many gas-powered vehicles with 1 or 2 people in them filling up these spaces. Now, that's compounded by the failure of the authorities to curb indiscipline and impose order. I did a little, let us call it a survey, but it's unscientific. And I called up a few people and asked them about their commute, their morning and evening commute. Now, people in Portmore, St. Catherine, Spanish Town, and Kingston and its suburbs told me that their 10 to 15 minute ride took them normally half an hour to an hour and a half, 1 hour to an hour and a half in their private vehicles or in the public transport system. That is from Red Hills to downtown Kingston or to Halfway Tree or to New Kingston, from Papine to Halfway Tree or Crossroads, from Spanish Town into New Kingston, and so on. All of these were just gridlock places. It's rank futility and stupidity. It ensures and enshrines low productivity, which some of us have been talking about for 20 years, and the politicians are now beginning to whisper about. Now, one of the people I know in Montego Bay, Clinton Pickering, told me about the travail they have. And I would love for you to just hear what Clinton Pickering says about what happens in Montego Bay, in that western city.
Montego Bay is badly in need of some traffic management. We're talking about building this perimeter road. Yes, it is under construction, but it will not solve the problem. It's like everyday problem, and we find, of course, that it could take motorists. Let's say coming in from the west by Reading into downtown Montego Bay, easily it could take you almost an hour. We have a situation also, where the traffic gets backed up, past the airport coming in from the east. So heard a number of times they say, oh yes, there's a plan, but we ain't seen no plan. We're just seeing congestion in the streets. And then of course there's the question of the indiscipline of drivers, mostly taxis, it is one serious problem. Montego Bay is badly in need of some traffic management. We're talking about building this perimeter road. Yes, it is under construction, but it will not solve the problem.
It will not solve the problem, and that's what
problem.
That's what Clinton Pickering says. And
we find, of course,
you hear me a second time, but that's what Clinton Pickering says, and he should know. He has been doing traffic. He has been living in Montego Bay for decades,
Yes.
and he's been doing the traffic report for RJR for many, many years. And we are also seeing that the Mandela Highway is not solving anything in traffic either. People from Portmore are still taking an hour and a half to get into parts of Kingston. Same thing from Spanish Town. We are also seeing that even the toll road from Portmore is not helping. Hey guys, stop looking on the ground. We're going to come back to that next week. I just want to tell you that an accountant I know, a good, solid person who thinks economics all the while, Dennis Strong says, Jamaica loses roughly $200 billion a year, every year, sitting in traffic. I believe it's mathematics, but I think it's a little bit more that we lose. So I'll come back to this one. I'm not going to allow it to pass. I'll come back to this one, and I'll leave it at that for today. What we have as a transport system is a waste of time and should be tackled now.
But Franklin, one of the things that you need to look at is this. So those who are providing the bulk of the transportation services, look at them. No, the government treats the big providers different from those who are running the taxis. Now look at Knutsford Express. Knutsford Express prices are not controlled by government,
Oh, and they've raised them several times already since the last 6 months.
Okay. And they are providing public transportation. They are not providing. But the government does not put any cover on their rates. But the taxes, yes, but the taxis and minibus owners, they are under government control. No.
Yes, because they are providing essential service. Knutsford is a luxury.
Knutsford is providing essential services to people all over the country.
Luxury.
What kind of luxury? What do you mean luxury?
You don't have to pay Knutsford to go where you're going.
So why the government don't? Why the government don't control their prices?
Because it's a luxury service, third D, and not a relevant essential service. You can take a minibus or a taxi to go to Montego Bay. You don't have to take the Knutsford. That's your choice when you have the money.
I am saying to you that what it is a public transportation services for those who want to use it and can afford to use it. That is what it is, right? Anyway, as Franklin said, we will come back to that. Before I make my point, I just want to make an apology. I made an error last week when I said that the murder rate in Haiti was lower than that in Jamaica. That was an error. It is significantly higher. Yes, political promises. I think people are asking this question, to what extent is government run by a few big interests looking out for themselves? That question, I think people are, over the years, the experience of the people is that during election time, promises are made, whatever number of promises are made. But at the end, what the people get? The people get government policies which are in widening what the policies implemented by government are policies which widen the income situation, and the gap between the education, health service, and how law is enforced. The policies executed by the governments is that you see a widening of the gap there. The people don't get the benefits from those policies. Now, what we need in Jamaica, we need policies to be kept. No? And I believe that one of the
How can
reasons,
the people enforce that, Desmond?
well, let me tell you, the people are enforcing it right now, you know. The people are enforcing it by staying away from the polls. Don't you see, or can't you see, that the governments are not elected by the majority of registered voters in Jamaica? 53% in 53% of registered voters in 2011. 48% in 2015 or 16, and 38% in 2020. The people are enforcing it by staying away from the polls because the governments are not elected by the majority of registered voters in Jamaica, but by their party base. That is what is happening. So our democracy is being undermined in front of us, right? So the people, it is now incumbent on the government, and I know that this government and the opposition, they must be concerned with the low level of voters who are voting for them, right? The people need to have trust in the system. The people have no longer have any trust in the people. They are losing significant trust in the system. Now you can remember in recent time with all the promises that were made, and most of them were not kept. No, most of them were fixed election date, not kept. One of the most important one is there was a promise to implement a law to deal with illicit enrichment by politicians. That has not been kept. I remember the Governor General spoke about it in 2023. Nothing about that since then. So I am saying, when you look at how the system has treated the people, for example, squatting started in 1838. The very day after slavery was abolished, squatting started. And we have had numerous promises of how we are going to address it.
And you know, Desmond, that's a big one, but you know, you're going to have to wait until next week for us to dig down into the squatting, you know, or whenever you want to take it on. But because we're running out of time, and I just wanted to make the one crucial point that you want to make today, and then expand it next time, Desmond.
Yes, well, I am almost finished. All I am saying is that the promises, we are tired of the promises. We want action, and the opposition leader must know this, that if he is elected in the next election, he has no honeymoon. Absolutely not. There are some things that he must start dealing the following day, and that is to deliver on the promises to the Jamaican people. Transportation, health, security, squatting. These are fundamental issues which must be addressed.
And before the time of the elections, we expect that both political parties will put out some sensible and serious arguments which are to be investigated and really dealt with in a rigorous manner. But let's go to Mary, because we don't want to take up our time. Mary, I see that we have some of our viewers are sending us messages, but you're not telling us what's going on.
Well, I'm waiting for you guys to break.
Okay, so please go ahead, Mary. I'll be eating into your time.
I was asking Warner if she knew. It looked like we have a new listener tuning in today. Warner, or guana. It looks like Spanish. We have our usual hi Juana if you're new, and we have our usual people, Rubian, Israel. We have Carleen Whittingham today, and Alan, of course, our staple, Keith Palmer. And they're talking about, so I'm going to start with Keith at the bottom. Keith says what everyone needs to do is vote so that they can have more say in the affairs of government. This is one of the reasons the government could care less of the voices. And I agree with Keith. Even we have to go out there and exercise the vote. We can't put it on the government to, hold the people responsible to voting. They're not God, for God's sake. Alan, talking about Easter, he says, yes, he celebrates Easter by eating plenty of butter and cheese. We have Carleen, we don't share that sentiment. We have unleavened bread. We have Carleen. I don't celebrate Easter because it's a pagan holiday that was Christianized by the Roman Catholic Church. Exactly my view, Carleen. We're on the same page.
We know that.
Israel ally say it's still a free market economy. Where did that fly off to? Where did it? Obviously, somebody post on this one. Move. Israel says a free. I suppose what he's trying to say is that it's a free market economy. Please be careful, or we call people's name. I don't know what that means. So Israel, please clarify your comment a little bit for us and the audience. All right, so today I'm going to jump right into teas, because if you're not drinking tea, you definitely need to start tea drinking, because there are so many health benefits from drinking tea. And the story I started telling is that this woman, my friend's grandmother, who was born in the 1890s, he was born in the 1920s. And in that time, he was born, they said that he had colic. So like at about 3-4 days old, the doctor prophesied that he was going to die. They couldn't save him. But his grandmother, being a determined woman, rejected that prophecy over his life, and by God says he's going to live. So she went to the police station at the time and spoke with the officers and said, listen, my grandson is about to die. I need some ganja. And they gave her some ganja. Don't know this is how this worked. In the 1920s, she went home, made the ganja tea, and administered it. She obviously like a bush doctor. And within a week, he made a total recovery. Today,
Mary, I'm so sorry. The time has run out on us because, oh my goodness, and I see also Owen Richards coming through with comment. Mary, I'm sorry. I think my comments about transport overrun. I got beyond myself. I'll give you back the time next week.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I want to thank all our viewers, our listeners for coming in with us. Thank you very much. And I beg you, please subscribe and share this podcast on behalf of Joshua. Somebody told Joshua that we must mention you first. Joshua Black, Winnie, Anderson Brown, Desmond Richards, and Mary White. Thank you all for joining us yet again for the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.
Okay.